My name is Claude Talford. I'm currently the Emergency Management Director for the city of Lakeland, Tennessee. Back on September 11th, 2001, I was the Emergency Operations Chief for the Memphis Fire Department. The morning of 9/11, I was on my way into work and got information that a plane had crashed into the World Trade Center. Of course, my thoughts at that time were back to when the B-52, I think it was, crashed into the Empire State Building. So I'm thinking, well, it crashed into the building and probably fell to the ground. Now I'm thinking a small plane. Once I got into the fire headquarters that day, which we were having a promotional ceremony, and I was getting in a little bit early to get set up for that particular ceremony. Once I got to fire headquarters, I realized that it was much bigger than I anticipated. They had the news on, the TV on in the conference room, and some of the other people that had gotten there earlier was watching as the news was breaking concerning the incident. Pretty much we all were in shock at that point, and trying to figure out, how in the world are those guys going to be able to fight that fire at that level. But anyway, we end up cutting the televisions off because we moved forward with the promotional ceremony. I mean, we just couldn't let it stop it at that point, and so we just moved forward with the ceremony. After the promotional ceremony, there was a small reception. These things don't last that long anyway, but a small reception, and we cut the TVs back on to kind of get updated on what was going on in New York at the time, and that's when we caught the additional coverage when the second plane slammed into the towers. And it was just, I think everybody was just numb, couldn't believe it was happening at the time. I mean, we're professional firefighters, and it took us by surprise, like it took the country by surprise. So after the second plane slammed into the tower, I got together with the director and the deputy director at the time, and we basically we realized that we're part of the urban search and rescue system for FEMA, and that there was a good possibility that our team would get deployed. So we talked it over. We started calling in some of our special operation members that were on duty to meet at the training center and start putting together a list of team members in case we were called to be deployed. So in the process, the director told me, you be sure to put yourself on the list, which I knew I was going anyway. I was part of the team, so I knew I was going. At that point, when we got to the training center and started putting together the team, we did get the call that we were going to get deployed to the Pentagon. Well, we were going to get deployed. It wasn't to the Pentagon at that time. We just was going to get deployed. We didn't know if we were going to the Pentagon or New York City, because everything was just chaotic, of course, at that point. But we did get our deployment orders and just was told by road to head that way, and in the process we did get finally get the deployment orders to go to the Pentagon. It was a day that really changed my life. We were kind of in a news blackout because we were driving in vehicles that that basically just had AM, FM radios. We picked up news, as we passed through areas that we could, pick up a radio station at that point. And basically, by that morning of the 12th, we arrived in Arlington and went directly to the Pentagon. We paused our vehicles under just, south of the Pentagon under a highway overpass, and went to send someone to try to find out where they wanted us and all that. But in the meantime, we saw everybody running off the top of the Pentagon, running away from the Pentagon. We were wondering what was going on. We finally found out that there was another plane in the air that morning, but they wasn't sure what type of plane it was, so they were evacuating people, off the roof and away from the building, and later found out that it was a military plane that was up doing reconnaissance and some other whatever else they may have had the plane up for at that time. Because by that time, by the morning of the 12th, everything had been grounded. We were immediately put to work. I mean, we started to doing some searches of the building and restabilizing the building in the Pentagon so we could search and pull out debris along with military personnel, and the Maryland Task Force 1 was there. I think it may have been, it's been so long now, I think it was Fairfax County Task Force that was there, and we basically were working with them early on, clearing debris, searching for remains. It was, people call us heroes, but I don't think there's anything heroic about what we did. I think we did the job that we're paid to do, and we brought some comfort to some loved ones that we were at least able to find, some remains of some of the people that were released at the Pentagons. Unlike, there's still people missing. There no remains of anything that were at the Trade Center. 10 years later, I still think about it. My first trip to New York City was in 2001, so that was my first time seeing the World Trade Center up close and personal, and I have a bunch of pictures that I've put on Facebook to keep that memory alive for future generations, for my family. But it was our Pearl Harbor, and we should never forget. I mean, the baby boomer generation, which I am on the back end of the baby boomer generation, had Pearl Harbor. We have the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, and that date, 9/11, and it will live in infamy for us.